And welcome back, everyone. We are back in our IUC coordination studio here in this joint virtual plenary that has been keeping us busy with a lot of incredible food for thought for the past 2 hours. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive that we have planned for you to discuss, share experiences, and also different aspects of how you can accelerate action towards implementing and reaching climate neutrality, as well as fostering the green recovery for our communities. So I think that this year, more than ever, has clearly shown and how greater is the need to strengthen the urban resilience that we already knew was so important. The crisis like the one that we have faced in terms of the coronavirus, but also the climate change crisis that we are facing nowadays, no borders. And it is very important to bring all actors on board. So we discussed about multi-level governance, we discussed about partnership and equality and equity and fairness in engaging also all of our different stakeholders, our communities and our citizens that are the final recipient, of course, is that the cities present today are trying to develop in order to further and to improve their quality of life. So today I'm actually not alone, and of course our IUC community is also not a standalone community looking into how to leverage and empower and strengthen the contribution the local and regional governments can bring to the table when it comes to implementing climate neutrality, the green recovery, and for Europe also, of course, the Green Deal as the overarching framework that we have right now to support and to really bring forward our policies for a more sustainable Europe. And it's my great pleasure today to actually have someone that will help us understanding a little bit better also what are the different views from local and regional governments, what are the key ingredients to enable this climate action and the implementation of the Green Deal. So it's my great pleasure to give the floor now to Andries GRYFFROY. He's part of the Commission for Environment, Climate Change and Energy of the Committee of the Regions. Andries, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Giorgia. Dear friends, let me introduce myself. I'm a member of the Flemish Parliament and of the Belgian Senate, but also member of the European Committee of the Regions, the political assembly that represents 1 million of local and regional leaders democratically elected. A year ago, I had the pleasure to address you during the third City-to-City event, and I'm also glad to see that this year the participation in the event has been extended to many other stakeholders and regions across the globe. Cooperation programs and exchange of experience between cities and local governments worldwide are key to step up climate action while supporting the implementation of sustainable development goals at local level. I'm also pleased to see that in spite of COVID and the huge socio-economic impact this brought in our cities and regions, significant progress has been made in city-to-city cooperation, and I would like to commend you for the great work that you have done over these difficult months. This morning, you had interesting discussions on urban development and the challenges caused by the virus, while the autumn sessions you focused on the long-term strategies on climate neutrality and the related governance. I'm proud to look back and witness how local and regional authorities have been and still are at the forefront of tackling both challenges. Before the pandemic, many local and regional authorities were already taking determined steps towards climate neutrality by adopting long-term strategies. Their plans are now being adapted based on analysis of the immediate impacts caused by the pandemic. We have seen CO2 emissions dropping significantly as a result of the lockdown, but also an increase of urban waste. Expanded use of teleworking has also determined higher energy consumption in houses. Mobility patterns have also changed, and sustainable mobility plan and infrastructure may also need to adapt. Let me remind you some striking figures. According to the UNDP, more than 70% of climate change mitigation and up to 90% of climate change adaptation measures are undertaken by local and regional authorities. In the EU, they implement roughly 70% of all EU legislation, representing 1/3 of public spending and 2/3 of public investment. And when it comes to cities, 80% of the populations lives in cities where 85% of the GDP is generated. So that's where most of challenges and opportunities are concentrated. Societal and technological progress happen in the cities, but also daily life. Investment in smart grids means that by 2020, almost 240 million smart meters will be in place across Europe, allowing consumers to reduce their energy consumption by 10%. Combating climate change means also to rethink our cities completely, and the change needs to be endorsed and owned by their citizens via change in habits, a change in lifestyle, a change in way of working and mobility. This has to be done through education and participatory processes. We want to be able to achieve climate neutrality if we don't take people with us, if they are not enabled to take ownership of the transition. Local action represents the biggest potential to face the challenges ahead of us for the implementation of a green recovery and sustainable development for our societies. Transition to climate neutrality will be achieved only if all levels of governance are taken on board. The EU Green Deal could be instrumental to support a sustainable recovery and achieve the climate goals, as long as it's balanced, targeted, and most importantly, built bottom up. I think these three principles can be equally applicable in different contexts outside the EU, and this ambitious model could be matched with the global Green Deal in order to accelerate action. First principle, balanced. We have to take into account the different economic and social situations in the regions and cities and latest available data after the outbreak of the pandemic. This also means adopting a flexible approach towards targets, taking account of the contribution each region country can afford, and rewarding those who do more in order to bridge emission gaps. And one-size-fits-all policies will simply not work. Second principle, targeted. The Green Deal must prioritize sectors with more job-creating potential, focusing on cost-effective measures that allow for high emission reductions at lower costs, while taking into account local circumstances and different energy mix. The third principle, but the most importantly, bottom-up. Regions and cities must be involved in the definition and implementation of the national plans and should get easier access to funding. What we need is a global Green Deal that broadens the reach of regulatory, fiscal and financial frameworks through effective multilateral and multi-level mechanisms, calibrated to meeting the overarching goals of social and economic stability, shared prosperity, and environmental sustainability by the end of the current decade. A global Green Deal which takes full acknowledgement of the common but differentiated responsibilities in a multilateral system needed to protect the global commons. Many cities and regions across the world are already integrating SDGs within their local plans and regional strategies, and this can serve as an essential starting point for the implementation of global Green Deals. The EU Green Deal could inspire similar policies and actions beyond Europe and provide a model for driving forward ambitious cross-sector action to accelerate solutions and tackle climate change. In order to meet higher and more ambitious targets and become climate neutral by 2050, the EU will earmark a significant share of its 1.8 trillion euros long-term budget for investments supporting the green and digital transition. Relevant legislation on energy efficiency, renewable directives and climate strategies will also be reviewed next year to strengthen resilience and preparedness. For example, with buildings accounting for 40% of the greenhouse gas emission, the Renovation Wave initiative will give a boost to the current renovation rate of public and private buildings, secure funding for greener and more energy efficient hospitals, schools, etc. The Renovation Wave is also an opportunity to promote a new approach to energy production, from a centralized and top-down approach towards local sustainable energy models, enhancing citizen ownership. Multi-level governance is a pivotal element to efficiently link the Green Deal objectives with the green recovery. All the themes that the EU Green Deal encompasses, like renovation of buildings, sustainable mobility, just transition, clean air, circular economy, resilient biodiversity, digital transition, sustainable farming, etc., provide fertile ground for the integration of new and existing plans across sectors. And whilst in the EU continuous dialogue between member states and local and regional authorities is envisaged in the governance of the Energy Union regulation, experiences such as the National Energy and Climate Plans have shown that the structured engagement and consultation process across levels of government can be challenging to obtain. The role of local and regional authorities in tackling climate change is widely acknowledged. However, this is seldom reflected in governance and funding mechanisms. Moreover, local and regional plans and contributions are often not taken into account in the national plans, nor they are measured. This applies also to the global level, where local contributions are often neglected by national or federal governments when presenting the national determined contributions. And where monitoring mechanisms exist, they are not sufficiently coordinated among each other. In my draft opinion, in the European Committee of the Regions, that should be adopted next week, we call for three important points. The first is multi-level platforms where local and regional authorities are mandatorily consulted and be able to participate in a structured manner in the design and implementation of national plans, including the National Recovery and Resilience Plans. Second, stable regulatory frameworks and direct access to funding to deliver integrated cross-sectoral actions that contribute to the implementation of the SDGs and the Paris Agreement, driven by local needs and context within such a diverse Europe. And third, a European regional scoreboard for the Green Deal with clear, transparent and consistent indicators at the regional level to monitor and track progress on the implementation of climate legislation and assess the needs for the green recovery. Such indicators could also serve as a knowledge tool to help representing the diversity of territories' needs, identifying and replicating best practices. It is of the utmost importance the enhancement and deepening of the programs of exchange, cooperation and knowledge sharing for administrations at different levels, to be able to advance taking into account the reality check already performed by others. The Committee of the Region has recently published 200 best practices in the different territories of the EU with the objective of display, promote and boost the replication of low carbon projects across the EU. We have also been actively supporting the work of the Urban Agenda for the EU with its partnerships and the renewed Leipzig Charter on Sustainable European Cities that promotes integrated and place-based approaches, multi-level governance and participation while enabling cities to act as a benchmark for the practical implementation of various urban policies in all member states. Through the EU Urban Agenda and our work on urban policies, we also support the UN New Urban Agenda and the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. But the action of the Committee of the Regions does not stop at the borders. EU cities and regions have included the Green Deal objective as a priority for the activities of both the Conference of the Region and Local Authorities for the Eastern Partnership and the Mediterranean Regional and Local Assembly, the two bodies where we, EU local elected politicians, jointly cooperate with their peers from our Eastern and Mediterranean neighbor countries. I would like to conclude by congratulating the International Urban Cooperation Programme for establishing more than 80 cities and 20 regional pairings across the world. Your actions and methodologies on city-to-city cooperation on sustainable urban development, your subnational action under the Global Covenant of Mayors initiative, and your cooperation on innovation and at interregional level provide a very useful material and experience. And I wish you all the best for the kick-off meeting of the second phase of the program that will start next year. Thank you very much. Thank you, Giorgia.
Thank you very much, Andries, for your remarks. You managed to convey not only what are the key ingredients to make the Green Deal successful and this transition towards carbon neutrality successful for Europe, but also potentially how to inspire other parts of the world, while also pinpointing some of the still remaining very strong key challenges that we are facing. So thank you very much for that. And also thank you for concluding with some solutions and some best practices. I think that's what the IUC was always about. Putting also solution on the table that others can be inspired by and replicate. So thank you. Your closing remarks were absolutely to the point. Thank you very much. And now we are getting close to the end of our journey today. I'm aware that we are running a little bit late, but not too much. So I would like now to give the floor to someone that has actually been accompanying us throughout the journey, looking into the challenges at the beginning, looking into the solution at the end, and then knows in and out everything that the IUC has really contributed in terms of supporting the implementation of the new urban agenda, the implementation of the and the SDGs as well. So it's my great pleasure to give the floor now to Ramon Lopez, who is a policy coordinator for international relations in the Directorate General for Regional Urban Policy of the European Commission. Ramon, the floor for the farewell message is yours.
Thank you very much, Giorgia. It was indeed an exciting journey. So on behalf of DG Regio, I would like to thank you very much, all of you, not only for your participation in this closing event, but above all for your commitment during this last year in the framework of IUC. So I must say that I'm very impressed by this afternoon session, which has focused on how you are facing the challenge of meeting the goals of the Paris Agreement and embracing also ambitious climate targets, in particular climate neutrality by 2050, as has been mentioned several times. We listen indeed to very inspiring experience on how cities are turning the green recovery into an opportunity to boost these actions and find new and innovative ways to implement and finance their actions on the ground. We have seen also this afternoon that cross-sectoral integrated action is a key element for resource-efficient, impactful progress on climate action. And I must say that has been key across nearly all region city pairings, the commitment to transversal and cross-sectoral stakeholder engagement, citizen participation and social inclusion. And here the topic of multi-level governance has been addressed as a primary success factor for successful climate action. So the importance of working with national, regional level, but also horizontally with several stakeholders has been stressed many times. So next slide, please. So under IUC, as mentioned several times before, city governments from 20 different European countries have paired up with peers from 11 other countries across 5 global regions, facing similar sustainable development challenges. The cities have been working in 82 pairings to share knowledge and best practices with each other and with the wider communities of practitioners. So next slide, please. IUC has, of course, contributed to SDGs around 6 main thematic clusters, including climate change mitigation and adaptation, which you can see is quite high in the list of number of pairings that have developed joint actions. Next slide, please. And I want to say that the European Commission is very proud to continue to support the IUC program through a second phase to be called International Urban and Regional Cooperation. and this sends a clear message that cities and regions play a critical role in sustainable development. And this role will only become even more important with the implementation of the European Green Deal. As we have moved forward in the IUC project, and not least in view of the severity of the challenges we confront, we realize that we need to consider other models to transfer knowledge quickly, including through trans-regional cooperation and thematic clustering of cities. So through IURC, the program will be therefore expanded to ensure that this network of committed cities and regions grows and continues to foster sustainable urban development across the globe and to promote cross-regional and cross-national learning. And besides, unlike in the current IUC, city-to-city cooperation model, in the IURC, cities will primarily work in thematic clusters. And this is something important to underline, once again, that focus on topics based on the new urban agenda and the urban agenda for the European Union, but still cities who wish to develop a more intensive cooperation with a European partner will also be able to pursue one-to-one city pairing, as it is the case now. The nature of the cooperation in clusters and city pairs will be outlined again in urban cooperation plans, which will lay out actions that cities identify to take on during their cooperation. And IURC, again, will have a second component to promote the region to region. So region in the sense of subnational entities in the field of innovation. And here TM is very much to support EU regions to partner with the other regions in Latin America, China, and Japan to improve and internationalize their respective regional innovation strategies and clusters, and including in particular participation of SMEs in the innovation sector and promoting international value chains. Next slide, please. On the geographical scope, as you can see, the program will be expanded and reinforced to include cities from European and non-European countries in America, in Asia, Australasia. We can see as new countries Indonesia, Malaysia, Republic of Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Australia, and New Zealand. Most of them, and in any case, will not be, however, completely new to the program, as they have participated under the GCOM component of IUC, or even in some cases on previous pilot initiatives, the World Cities project. Next slide. So here you have a nice picture where you can see that IURC will cover quite an important number of countries across the globe. So I wanted also to say that this past year, more than ever, has clearly showed that there is a need for strengthening urban resilience. So we saw this morning how the pandemic has tested the resilience for our socioeconomic infrastructures, but also how it can provide an opportunity for rethinking the urban environments and drive positive change, which can help us reaching a truly green recovery and sustainable development. And in the particular context of IUC, we are really very proud to witness the great willingness and commitment of cities to stand together in these difficult times, to help each other and act as real friends and partners. So let me conclude by saying thank you once again to all of you, to all our speakers today, to the interpreters, to the participants, to all IUC cities representatives, because of course you are the main actors behind the excellent results that have been achieved by the program, together with the technical teams that have worked with you in the different regions, led by David Calvo in North America, Sandra Marin in Latin America, Panagiotis Karamanos in India, Pablo Gandara in China, and Professor Imura in Japan. Thank you very much to all pairing managers, and thank you very much, of course, to Giorgia, Rambelli, and the support team, the whole support team, who have supported the project from Brussels and organized once again a truly great event to close this first phase of IUC. So on my side, just to say that it has been a true pleasure to work side by side with all of you over the past years. Of course, it's not a farewell. Just hope to see you again very soon in IURC. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ramon. I think it's my turn now to pat everyone on the shoulder for the great work that they have done. what has been extremely impressive about the energy beyond the IUC has been that we managed to bring together cities that with their flexibility, their ingenuity, have acted as true testing grounds for innovation and bold solutions, ranging from small mountain communities to some of the greatest capital of the world, from some middle-sized cities that were entering the international scene when it comes to sustainability for the first time, to mega cities. All of them have truly brought their own creativity, their willingness to learn, their willingness to exchange. So for that, we can only thank you. And I would like to also reiterate what Ramon just said. Please continue your work together and continue to be in touch with us and to work on the IURC starting in 2021. To conclude, I truly want to thank everyone for challenging yourself with this cooperation, for all of your efforts in learning how to drive new solutions forward for your sustainable urban development, but also for opening up not only your cities, but also your heart to your city partners from across the world. I think IUC is a true testament of what cities can collectively achieve when they set their minds to it. I also want to thank the European Union and the European Commission. Thank you, Ramon, on behalf of everyone. Of course, also for funding and for conceptualizing such a program. Truly, we would have not had the IUC without you. Thank you also to all the teams from my side, the ones that on the ground in the regions have been working incessantly to make this a success. And then finally, thank you to all the speakers, the moderators, the keynotes that have joined us today, as well as the colleagues in the IUC coordination team. Silvia, Nicola, George, Adrian, Mara, thank you very much. And thank you finally also to the interpreters that have been providing their services and their excellent work throughout the time of today. Finally, a big thank you to all of you, of course, and we truly look forward to continuing this journey in the future. Thank you.